Today's podcast, we have a very special guest. We have Northeastern senior defenseman Skylar Fontaine. Skylar is a three-time Hockey East champion as well as a Bean Pod winner. Welcome to the podcast, Skylar, and how's everything going?
Thank you for having me. Everything's great here, just trying to get back into hockey.
That's good to hear. And how's your quarantine been like? And what did you do during the off season to prepare for this very unusual season that could happen?
Quarantine's been pretty long. We got sent home, I think, around March, and I had to do a lot of home workouts. Thankfully, we have a Peloton, so I Pelotoned a lot. And some stick handling, and once I was able to get back in the gym, I went there, and when I got back on the ice, I did a lot of sprints to get back into shape, and that's been about my quarantine festivities.
That's good to hear. And has your team gotten back on the ice yet? And what has college looked like so far at this unusual year?
When we first started, we only could have about like 14-ish on each on each 1 hour sessions on the ice, and we have to wear masks. But starting last Friday, we got to all practice together, and we've been practicing together for about 3 practices now. It's tough, but we have to keep socially distanced and wear our masks, so that's a little tough to breathe in. But other than that, it's going well, and we're just getting back in shape again.
Has classes been all online, or has there been some in person as well?
We have a hybrid model here, so each week you can choose if you want to go in class or out of class.
Oh, nice. That's good to hear. And I
Yeah.
want to start talking about before you went to Northeastern. You grew up in Rhode Island. How did you start playing hockey and falling in love with the sport?
Well, my sister she's 6 years older than me. She played hockey growing up, and she actually went to Union College and played there, and it was just always in my family. My brother plays as well, so I kind of fell in love with it around when I was like 2 or 3. I got on the ice and then played games when I got older, and it just stuck, and I loved it.
And did you have a favorite player growing up, and what part of their game did you try to put into your game?
Growing up, I didn't really have a favorite player growing up. I think I just loved watching the game, and I have a very interesting way of playing. I am both offensive and defensive, so I think when I watch my favorite team or NHL team, I really pay attention kind of to everyone to get all aspects of a defensive game, because I'm very offensive and defensive at the same time.
And before Northeastern, you played for the boys hockey team at your high school. Talk about playing with the boys and how it helped you for your hockey development.
I love playing with the boys. It helped me get an edge on being aggressive. But when I first transitioned into girls when I was about 12, I got a lot of penalties because I wasn't used to not checking. But it definitely helped with the speed of my game. It made me quicker. It made me faster. It made me read the plays quicker. And when I was about a sophomore, I think, in high school, I stopped playing because it just started to get too dangerous and guys were too big and strong to be playing against.
Yeah, and you also played for Bell Tire, where you posted 29 points in 1 year. Talk about that experience and how it helped you prepare for college hockey.
That was a great experience for me. I would go out sometimes for practices and games. I was more of a tournament player, but I ended up making great lifelong friends there, and it was just a great experience. I had great coaching staff, great friends, and it was great to just play high level games on the weekends, and then I would go back and play for the boys at my high school.
Yeah, and I want to ask you, what was your recruiting process like, and why did you end up choosing Northeastern?
My recruiting process was Northeastern would come and watch me play in games in Bell Tire mostly, I'm pretty sure, and eventually when I was of age, I got recruited by a few schools, and I decided to come visit here. It was I think it was the second school I visited, and I just stepped on campus, and I just had this amazing feeling that I was meant to be here. I can't really explain it. People ask me all the time, but I just kind of knew this was the place for me, and I chose Northeastern because of the academics and the city and campus life. And then we have a great hockey program and great coaching staff.
Yeah, and I want to talk about the coaching staff. You play under Coach Dave Flint, who's obviously a legend in college hockey. What is he like to play under, and has he taught you anything about the game that you didn't know before you went to Northeastern?
He's an awesome coach. He's very attentive and works with his players to make them better. And I actually do video with him once a week when we get into games. And I've learned a lot about him, especially about being patient when going into the dropping into the offensive zone. And he's very communicative and always wants to make sure his players are in good health and good hands and has the best interest for us.
Yeah, and you, like you mentioned earlier, you're also an offensive defenseman, but also very defensive as well. How did you add that offensive part to your defensive game, and what's it like trying to balance both those aspects in college hockey specifically?
When I first started college, it was a little difficult for me to find a balance because it was new to me. And I struggled with it a bit, but afterwards I kind of got a hang of it. It's hard to, certain games are different. Some games I have to be more defensive depending on who we're playing, and some games I can be more offensive. But the offensive part of my game is kind of the dangerous part of my game because I have a great speed. So whenever I can get the chance to jump in the play with my forwards, it really helps us out. Um, I would say to balance it, I have to read the play well and be patient and know the right times to jump in and when not to.
Yeah, in your first year at Northeastern, you won the Hockey's championship, beating UConn 2-1. Talk about that playoff run and what it meant to you, especially winning it at Matthews and being the underdog in some of those playoff games.
That was a great feeling. I mean, to win it in our own rink, I honestly, every win for the championship has been great, but since it was in our own barn, that was probably the most memorable one. I remember every year we talk about on our team that playoffs are a new fresh start. There is no rankings. Everyone just has a clean slate. So I remember going into those games, we were just saying, this is it. Like, this is our playoffs. And the way we play during these series are going to tell if we will make it to the championship or not. And we ended up winning, working hard, and a lot of support from every team. All of our teammates was the key to winning and success.
And you played Colgate in the national tournament your freshman year as well. Talk about that experience and what you took away from it since it was your first national tournament experience.
It was my first, so I was a little nervous. I didn't really know what to expect. And we went to Colgate, and there was a lot of fans and a lot of noise and lights and flashing everywhere. So it was a pretty cool experience, but sadly we didn't win. But it was a great effort, and I think we learned as a team what we need to do to in order to make that next step. And hopefully we get there this year if we end up having a national championship.
Now, one question I want to ask you is during your freshman year, your team had a record of 5-12-1 on the road, but then during your sophomore year, you had a 10-2-3 record on the road. My question is, what did your team work on during the offseason to have success on the road, or was it just like a mental thing you had to figure out?
I think it was one, a mental thing, but two, I think we had to figure out what was wrong and why that was happening. And at the end of the day, we just had to prepare ourselves more and work harder during the week and focus more. And when we got to trips, we would do like a light jog or workout to loosen our legs because they were a little tight sometimes. But I definitely think it was a big mental game too. We were close as a team, and we would have conversations all the time as to why we thought that was happening. And in the end, we ended up fixing it and changing it and succeeding.
And what was the biggest adjustment you personally had to make coming into college hockey?
Personally, I had to keep an open mind and know that I might had to have changed my game because it's not the same level as AAA. And even though that's a great league and a great um, atmosphere to play in games, I knew that college is very different. It's a different speed. So for me, I just really mentally had to be open-minded, learn, and watch what was happening and kind of make my own game out of it and succeed in my own way.
And in your sophomore year, you got to play in Northern Ireland in a series against Clarkson. Talk about playing over there, and what was the coolest thing you got to do when you were down in Northern Ireland?
That was such a cool experience. We still talk about it today. Honestly, I've always wanted to travel around the world. So in order to go to Ireland and get to play the sport that I loved, it was a great experience. Playing Clarkson, it was very high stakes. Those 3 games, it was 3, right? Yeah,
I
yeah,
think.
3. Yeah, sorry. um, it was great high tempo. It was always back and forth. We ended up having a great weekend, and the highlight of my trip was, one, playing, but two, also meeting the people and getting to walk around and see Dublin, because it was just beautiful and I love seeing scenery and traveling. So that was probably the highlight.
And you won another Hockey East championship in your sophomore year, this time beating rival Boston College in Providence. Talk about that goal that Cassidy Anderson scored to win that game and beating the Friars on their home ice in the semifinals as well.
The semifinal game against the Friars was a very hard game. It was back and forth for a bit, and we ended up coming up with the win at the end. And then the championship game, that was a great game against BC. They ended up scoring with like a second left in the third period. It was crazy, but we knew we had to pull it together and keep our emotions in check. And we went out there and just knew that we deserve this. We can win this, and if we work together and keep mentally strong, that we can. And I remember the puck coming to me in the far blue line, and I didn't really have many options because I think we were changing, and I had a few BC players coming down to me, but I saw Cassidy far down at the other blue line, so I just hit it off the boards, and hopefully she would get there in time, and it ended up perfectly going to her, and she went on a breakaway and scored, and it was just a great feeling to watch her do that and watch it all happen.
And you then went on to play Cornell in the tournament that season, this time playing at Matthews instead of being on the road. What was the difference playing at home versus on the road, and how did that affect your team, especially since you lost that game in overtime?
That was a great game. I remember it was very high tempo and back and forth for a bit, and I think I scored to tie it up at the end before we went into OT. But being able to play at our home rink for NCAA, I think it gave everyone a sense of calmness and not as much as nervousness, because we were comfortable where we were used to playing there, and we had the home advantage with the fans. And I think that going into the game, we just knew we had to play our hardest and be mentally strong and have each other's backs. And sadly, we didn't win, but we knew that we gave it our all, and that's all we could have asked for at the end of the day.
Yeah, now I want to talk about the historic run your team made last year. You only lost 4 games the entire season. How did you sustain that type of success throughout the year and be mentally focused, since a lot of those Hockey East teams were going at you with their full speed every night?
Our team was big on one game at a time. So we would just focus on, okay, one practice at a time, tomorrow's practice, and then so on and so forth. And then we would get to game day, and we only worried about that game. We never worried about the game next and how we were going to play them tomorrow. We just worried about being in the moment and playing how we were supposed to in the moment.
And you also won your first Beanpot this past season as well. Talk about winning that trophy and what it meant to you and your team, since it was Northeastern's first championship in a while, and especially winning in double overtime nonetheless.
That game was really memorable for me because our team had been working really hard to win a bean pot, because since I was a freshman, we'd always come up a little short. And I think this meant a lot to us because we worked so hard and we believed in each other so much. And watching Lauren McInnes get that goal at the end of the game in OT was just a great feeling. And I was so proud of everyone on our team. And we will never forget that. And hopefully we win another one this year if we have it.
Yeah, definitely. And like I mentioned earlier, your team sustained so much success, especially during the Hockey East playoffs, where you dominated throughout the entire playoff run, scoring 9 goals in the final against UConn. Talk about that championship win and what it meant to your team, especially since it was the more recent one.
Yeah, I remember they gave us a run for our money for a while. They were really on us for a while, and then we finally just kind of kicked it into high gear, and we said, you know what, like we have fought so hard to get to where we are, and we deserve this. So let's give it everything we got, and we ended up just going for it and got a lot of goals, and it was fun, and we were excited to go to the NCAA, but then it got canceled. But definitely teamwork and being supportive and being there for one another is what got us to win that championship again this year.
Yeah, and you were supposed to play Princeton in the tournament before everything got shut down. How did you find out? What was your team's reaction, especially since you guys really had a chance to make it big in the tournaments with the previous two experiences and just the run that your team was on at that time?
It was really disappointing. I remember it like it was yesterday. We were all in the locker room getting ready for practice, and we had friends from all over, and people from Princeton were texting and saying things, and everyone just didn't know what was going on. And then we got a text from our coaches saying they would be in our locker room soon, and they told us the news, and it was heartbreaking for all of us, but especially the seniors. And I felt for them the most, even though I was disappointed as well. I knew I had to be there for the three seniors in the room because they worked so hard to get there all 4 years, and it was sad to see it come short for that reason. But hopefully we can make it this year and win it for them and for us, since it ended up getting canceled last year.
Yeah, what were your expectations though going against Princeton, especially since they have Sarah Fillier, who's one of the best women's hockey players in the country?
Yeah, she's amazing. I think that we were just going to go in and focus on our game, do the little things right, and hopefully we were going to come up with a win. And we were really focusing hard on practice, on what to do, how to be the best we can. And I think at the end of the day, if we just brought who Northeastern hockey was, that we could have come up with the win, but we will never know.
Yeah. Now, speaking of your teammates, you talked about last year's senior class and what they meant to you, especially people like Paige Capistran, who was a great captain for your team, and Cody Cross, someone who we had on the podcast, who she said that you guys were really good friends. Talk about what they meant to you and how they helped you for your 3 years at Northeastern so far.
Well, Matt T I knew for a while beforehand because we were in the same district for national camps and stuff. So we were close, and she's such a kind soul and so nice and so incredibly smart and great at hockey. So it was really sad to see her go and not see her dreams come true to make the NCAA tournament and hopefully Frozen Four. And then Paige Capistran, she was a great leader, great hockey player. I played defense with her all the time, so we always were around each other. And she was just a great leader and knew how to lead and be there for everyone. And she had a great shot and always was brought her hardest no matter what. And then Cody's one of my best friends, and she's also a great player. She's very quick, and I was sad to see one of my best friends lose what she worked so hard for. So that was hard to see as well. But all around, they were just a great class, and I was sad to see them go. And I want the best for all three of them.
Now, since you're going to be a senior this year, did you learn anything from last year's senior class to help bring leadership to this year's team? And what type of leadership do you hope to bring to this year's Northeastern team?
Yeah, definitely. I learned, especially from last year, that you need to take everything in, because sooner or later you're going to blink and it's just going to be gone. You're going to say, whoa, where did the whole year go? So I definitely learned that. And then from all of them, I just learned to lead by example and just be there for everyone and always be open to talk to anyone and be there for whoever needs it. And on the ice, just to be supportive and always have energy on the ice.
I also want to talk about some of your other teammates that you get to play with. You have the chance to play with some of the most talented hockey players in the world. You obviously play with Alina Miller, who was a Patty Kazmaier Award finalist this past season. Aaron Frankel, who's one of the top goalies in Hockey East, and some underrated players as well, like Katie Knoll, who had 26 points this past year, and Chloe Ayard, who had 49 points this past year. Talk about what it's like to compete against those players and how they help you develop your game, especially going into your senior year.
They're all amazing players. Aaron and I have a great relationship because we're D and goalie. So whenever we're on the ice, we talk a lot. So that's great. And she helps me with my game by telling me where I need to be if I can't see behind me. And she always makes me better. She's a great captain. And Alina, she's always full of energy and so supportive and works so hard and always pushes all of us. And Katie and Chloe always bring their best and push me to be my hardest. And since those three are forwards, it's always a challenge to defend them. So they always push me to be better. And I think I always push them to be better. So it's a great balance. And we all work really hard. And at the end of the day, we all want to push each other to make it to the next level.
Now, switching gears from Northeastern, you had the opportunity to participate in the Under-22 series against Canada this past summer. Talk about that experience and what was it like to gain to play against some of the best women's hockey players in the world and gain the chance to be with one of your teammates, Erin Frankel, during that series.
It was an incredible experience. You work so hard to make a national team when you're playing this sport. So when I finally did, I was just so proud of myself. And then I was so excited to play. And playing in those games, it was very high tempo. It was very good. They have very good players on Canada. And we just wanted to, as the whole team, go out there and just play our hardest and play as a team. And it was great to play with Erin because I was already comfortable with her and knew her from playing at Northeastern. So that was great. And in the end, it was just an incredible experience, and I'm very thankful for it.
Yeah, and you got to play with a lot of Hockey East foes. Now they were your teammates in that series. What was it like playing with them, and did it teach you anything? And what did you learn from that whole experience in Lake Placid?
That whole experience, I learned to work hard and be kind to everyone and always just be there for everyone that is on your team at the time. And you're there to push each other to make each other better. And at the end of the day, you want to end up beating Canada. So that was the end goal. And I made a lot of friends from the U20 team 2 squad, especially those who are Hockey East. I still talk to a few. They're all amazing players. Even in the other league, they're all amazing players. But I definitely learned a lot from them to always work hard, like I was saying, and that everyone brings something to the table. So it was really cool to watch what everyone brought and how great everyone was on the ice.
And what's the biggest improvement you've made from your freshman year to now?
I would say the biggest improvement I made is being comfortable on who I am on the ice and being confident on my defensive and offensive game, because I think when I was a freshman I was a little timid, and now being a senior I know what I can do and how I can play, and at the end of the day I just want to go out there and play my game and be there for my team and end up winning with the whole squad.
Now, you said you got to practice with some of your teammates so far. Talk about this year's freshman class coming in. What could fans expect from this year's class?
This year's class, we have 4 freshmen, so not a big class, which we usually have a big class every year. So we've already got to know them pretty well. We have 2 great defensemen, Abby and Lily. They're going to do really well for us this year. And then Molly and Annie are both very quick and fast and have great shots. So hopefully they bring a lot of offensive game to us too. So I think that you can see a lot of good things coming from those 4 this year.
And what are your goals and expectations for you personally and for your team for this upcoming year?
Personally, I really want to work towards continually making national team camps, and I definitely want to hopefully help my team win as many games as we can and build great friendships and hopefully win another Hockey East, and if we have an NCAA championship, make it to Frozen Four and hopefully a national championship. That's the end goal for all of us, I think, here.
Now we're in the segment of the podcast I call 5 Questions with Skylar Fontaine that have nothing to do with hockey. And my first one is, what's your go-to karaoke song?
Go-to karaoke song. Ooh, that's a hard one. I would say Since we're in Boston, I'd say Sweet Caroline because it's always a good one and gets the crowd going.
Nice, nice. And speaking of Boston, what's your favorite thing about Boston besides the hockey aspect or the college aspect even?
My favorite thing about Boston is being able to go walk around and go see to great restaurants or go shopping and just enjoying city life because I love city life.
Now, obviously, you have the best style on the team, but besides yourself, who has the best style?
I would say, who is the best style? Everyone has a lot of good style. Hmm. I would say in the past, well, Matty Hartman had pretty good style, but she graduated. She had really cool outfits, and right now, I would say either Emma Drusik shows up to game days with some pretty cool pants on and shoes, so I would say her for sure right now.
Now, if you could have lunch with anyone in the world, who would it be and why?
Ooh, if I could have a lunch with anyone in the world, I I think I would say Serena Williams just because she's an amazing athlete and she's also a mother and an athlete and she's just done so well in the tennis world and tennis is really interesting to me. So I definitely think I would sit down with her and want to pick her brain a little bit and ask her some really cool questions.
Nice. And last one is, what's the best ice cream flavor?
Oh, I love Ben and Jerry's. So I'm gonna say fish food from Ben and Jerry's. Everyone on my team knows I love eating ice cream. So does Alina Mueller. Alina and I will go eat ice cream all the time. But I would definitely say that or cookie dough.
Oh, nice, nice. Now back to some hockey questions. Now, what's some advice you would give to younger players, especially female athletes who are trying to pursue a Division One college hockey career?
I would say do what you love and work your hardest and never forget your end goal and strive to do that and listen to others and watch others. And I definitely think watching NHL and the women's national team will help you. And I think to always strive a little bit further than you think you can.
Now, how would you try to make women's hockey better and more popular for consumers, especially here in the U.S.?
Hopefully, we can get more exposure and younger girls can see that you can still succeed in this sport and go far because it is a great sport and great people are involved in it and hopefully that will get us to expose our sport a little bit more and make it more global and we really want to try to get younger kids to realize how great it can be, especially young children, and going to camps and showing them how fun it can be hopefully will help that as well.
Nice, nice. And is there any shout outs you'd like to make or give to any family, friends, teammates before we let you go?
Um, yeah, I just want to thank my family for always being there for me and helping me get to where I am.
That's a great shout out. Well, thank you so much, Skylar, for coming on. I really appreciate it. And take care, stay safe, and hopefully I can watch a game sometime next season if they allow fans.
Thank you so much. You as well.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.